Welcome back to my video. My name's Lisa Jane, and if you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and if you are returning, thank you as always for supporting me in this channel. Today's video is going to be, I think it's about our third one now along, our May wrap up and bookish reset. So in this video, I'm going to go through all the books I read in the month of May and do a quick wrap up. We won't go into too much detail because I know people can get a bit fed up with these, but then I want to go into how I'm getting on with my series and update you on all things TBR, which I think sometimes people enjoy listening to, but let me know what you think. We will start off by showing you my May TBR graphic. Now, I didn't do wonderful on this. I did have a good reading month for me for the month of May. But on this, I actually DNF'd my book club pick. I don't know what it was about Dungeon Crawler Carl, but I just really found it difficult to get into. It just wasn't for me. And I also soft DNF'd Neverthorn. Now, I actually got well over 50 pages into this book and I was enjoying it, but then I just felt like it'd be better to be read in the autumn winter time, so I sort of put it down and then never picked it back up again. So that is a soft DNF. I will probably go back to that one. And then the two I did complete on this list was A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly and Nora Goes Off Script. Now, for me, Nora Goes Off Script has been on my TBR a long time. I think it was one of the first books I bought, so at least I got that one off the list. The ones I read that weren't on the list were The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. We had Starside by Alex Astor, My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney, The Daisy Chain Flower Shop by Laurie Gilmore, and Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. I actually chose Mixed Signals on my June TBR, I think, but I was just so in the mood to read a B.K. Borison book, so I ended up reading it at the back end of May. I literally finished it, as I'm filming this, yesterday, so yeah. It sort of is close to June, but I've read it a bit earlier, so we're going to wrap it up in this one. As you can see, I didn't get to Silver Elite or The Ballad of Never After. The Ballad of Never After, I think I'm going to have to do a video. Let me know what videos you would like to see as well, but I think I might have to do one where I read books I'm putting off, because I think The Ballad of Never After gets such good reviews, but I just didn't really enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart, and it's just putting me off from continuing. So I either need to just do it or maybe unhaul the series, but that's for another video at some point. So in total I read 7 books and I DNF'd 2, which is definitely probably one of my better reading months, and I think that's a mix of I've had a week off work and I've also finished uni now, so that is helping. So I'm hoping June is either going to be the same or even better. Fingers crossed. We will go quickly into the book review segment. So the first book I'm going to review is Starside by Alex Astor. This is book number 1 in the Starside series. This is my first book by Alex Astor and I thoroughly enjoyed it, giving it an absolute whopping 5 stars. So that went down really well. I think this was probably my first read of the month as well, because it was quite new at the time, I remember. And I know book 2 is actually coming out in November, so I will be picking up that as soon as it comes out and reading it. This book, basically in a nutshell, follows a young woman called Aris. We have Starside and Stormside. Stormside has very little magic, if any at all, and, you know, you're basically fighting for scraps, whereas Starside, we have all the lords and the different people who have magic galore. So every 50 years, these gates open between Starside and Stormside. People who live on Stormside, which is basically like the poor area, if you like, get to travel across Starside to win a cup of magic. And that cup of magic can do, you know, lots of things. It can cure people, it can extend life, you can grow crops with it. So it's really something that people on Stormside really want to win. However, it's not easy to win it, and we go through lots of trials, and Aris wants her cup of magic for something completely different, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. There is a lot of travelling. I know this book gets some negative reviews as well, or, you know, people are being quite critical about it. However, I really did enjoy it. Just a few notes I made about it was, there was lots of lovely world building and descriptions of the world. It was definitely true enemies to lovers. A lot of books say enemies to lovers, and then within the first 20%, they're basically all over each other. But this one, you are literally strung along right to the very end. And so if that is not your kind of thing, this book might not be for you. But honestly, it was true enemies to lovers. I really enjoyed that. 10 to 12% of the way in, I've just put, we had sort of trials happening straight away. So it was very quick to start. It was quite fast paced. Sometimes it might slow down a little bit, but then we pick back up again. But yeah, overall, it was just a really, really good read. Like I say, I can't say more than that. We had true enemies to lovers. We had mythical creatures and beings in there. We had the forced proximity. We had the trials. And we had like sword and metal magic, which, you know, if that's the kind of thing you like, then please do give this book a go, because I would highly recommend. Moving on, we will talk about this book here. I actually listened to this on, I think it was on BookBeat. I had like a free trial for it, and I thought I'm going to give this a listen when I'm prepping meals and things like that. It'll be good to have something to listen to, because you can't always physically read when you're cooking. My Husband's Wife, I absolutely loved it, by Alice Feeney. I gave this one 4.5 stars. The majority of the story is set in Cornwall, and yeah, it centres around a woman named Eden Fox, and basically she goes out for a run, and when she returns back to her house, her key just doesn't fit in the lock, and another woman opens the door and says she's Eden, who's this woman standing on the doorstep, and we go from there. The story is told from multiple perspectives. So we have the husband's perspective, obviously well, you won't know, but we have the two Edens perspectives. We have the police officer in the village perspective. We have lots of different things going on. We also have a timeline from 6 months earlier, so we keep flashing backwards and forwards. And if anybody knows me or has listened to my wrap-ups, you'll know that I really love multiple POVs, and I love timelines that flash. I mean, sometimes I do get confused, I will be honest. It wouldn't be me if I didn't. However, yeah, that kind of thing, it just keeps it really fresh and fast-paced, and yeah, I really enjoyed that about it. I also said that I had countless theories, but none of them were correct, may I add. So in that respect, it was really good, because although you're having all these theories, you know, if you don't get it right, it's more of a shock at the end. And yeah, I just put, it's my first Alice Feeney book. She's a new to me author. I wasn't obviously sure whether I was going to like her style of writing, but I absolutely loved it, and I am definitely going to be reading more of her work. So that was book number 2. We then move on to a series that we all know I absolutely adore, and that is the Dream Harbour series by Laurie Gilmore. I read The Daisy Chain Flower Shop as soon as it came out. I went down to the works, picked it up with the sprayed edges, and yeah, I finished the book I was reading and then jumped straight into this one. I don't think they're on my shelf longer than a week or so, and then they're read. I try and read them ASAP. This series isn't for everyone, and this is book 6 in the Dream Harbour series, and I have read all of them. Yeah, it's not for everyone, but it's just cheesy. It does what it says on the tin. It's a feel-good book they are spicy in parts. So you'll look at these books and think they're all sweet and innocent, but I tell you now, they are not. So just go in with that mindset. This follows Daisy, who owns the local florist in Dream Harbour. And basically, if you've read any of these books, there is a town mayor and he has these like premonitions, these dreams. And he's had this dream that there is a dark cloud hanging over the flower shop. And because of this, people think Daisy is cursed and their marriages start to break up who've had wedding flowers from her. So we sort of go from there. Then we meet a person named Elliot, who is relatively new to Dream Harbour. He's been there about a year, but kept himself to himself. And he is like the love interest in the book. But I don't want to go on too much from there because I think, you know, and I say this all the time, these books follow the same sort of formula as we go along. It's a romance book, so I don't need to go into any more details. The only thing I will say is the end of the book almost feels like it was a wrap up to the series, and I'm not going to say how or why, but I don't know whether this was going to be the end of the series, but I now know that 2 more books have been advertised as being released next year. So I don't know whether Laurie was planning on wrapping up the series with this one. But we now have the Apple Pie Ice Cream Parlour coming out next year, which I think is going to be like a novella size book, but that is already released in other countries, but it's just not in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that one because I've had my eye on that for a long time. And then there's going to be another one that's going to be released in the autumn time again, which obviously we know how much I love autumn, so I can't wait for that one, but that will be a full-length book. So yeah, I thought I was coming to the end of my Dream Harbour time, but actually I've got another 2 books to look forward to, so I'm really excited. But yeah, this one I gave 3.75. It hasn't scored as highly as some of my other ones from this author, but however, it was still just a cheesy, fun, good time. That's easy to read if you don't want anything too heavy. So yeah, highly recommend this series. I'll now move on to this book here. I read this on my Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited and it is called A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly. I will just read you the synopsis of it and then I will let you know my thoughts. Half-Fae Alessia could have led a charmed life, making the most of her ability to compel anyone to do her bidding just by looking in their eyes. But after a tragic accident, she's thrown into the Fae King's dungeons and forced to swear a blood oath, binding her to his service. 5 years later, she's living amongst humans in Elo and has created a life for herself, but her debt to the king still hangs over her and now he's come to collect. So that's sort of where we start. And then my sort of thoughts on it were, I didn't really know much about this book going into it. I've seen a couple of other people who've read it and really enjoyed it, so I thought I would give it a go. Like it says in the description, she travels to a place called Elo and she sort of makes a couple of close friends there. King I think it's Riona or Riona, calls in his favour and wants her to run for regent in Elo. And he wants her to infiltrate these elections that are going to take place and find out things for him. And if she is able to do this, she will gain freedom. So she'll be able to be free of this contract, this blood oath, and just live her life. Alessia goes up against others as they complete tests to see who's worthy of the position. So it's a bit trials based in some respects again. However, I love trials and just ate this up. There was a trope in here that some people don't like, and I've not read very much of this trope to be honest, but didn't mind it at all. So I will be continuing with the series. It was a slow burn romance, and I definitely do have questions going into the next book. I think there's 4 books in this series in total, but yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I don't know if I said at the beginning, but yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm hoping it's going to get better and better as the series continues. I then picked up The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. Oh my god, I love this book. I do not cry very often, but this book I actually cried at the end. I had tears coming down my face. This is a 5-star. This is about a lady, I think she's 73 when we start the book, but obviously time goes by, and her name is Sybil Van Antwerp, and she just writes letters. She does some emails, but mainly writes letters to people like the gardening club, friends of the family members. She just likes that art of back and forth writing to people. And yeah, at the beginning, I found it's very easy to get into, as in you're just reading letters. It's not that complex. However, I did struggle only because I was trying to keep up with who these letters were to. And I think I'm one that wants everything worked out straight away, and I think you just have to give it time. Just try and take in the information at the top of the book of who she's writing to. Try and remember it, and you will eventually, because it does come. I think it got me to, I think I got to about the 40% mark, and things started like slotting into place, and I knew who people were, and then obviously I could enjoy it so much more. But yeah, I think at first I was thinking this is just not going to be a 5-star. I don't see what other people are seeing. But then as the book progressed, it was just, yeah, it was wonderful. I have put that Sybil is a complex character. So I'm sure for some, especially at the beginning, she's a bit like Marmite. You either love her or you don't like her at all, really. Because she's very opinionated in her letters and emails, but my feelings definitely changed towards her as the book went on. And yeah, I think there's this softness around her as she gets older. I just put lovely descriptions of the surroundings so you can bring it to life. Like, I could almost see Sybil's little home and the neighbour next door. It was just, yeah, I loved it. There are some emotional themes in here that run through the book, so just be aware of them when you go in, because obviously this could cause some upset for some people, depending on life experiences that we've all had. Then want to move on to Nora Goes Off Script. This book, I think I gave it 4 stars. It was definitely 4 or 4.25. I think it was 4 though. I don't know why I waited this long to read it, because I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this. I read it in a day. I sat down one Sunday and literally read it from beginning to end. It's under 300 pages, and it follows obviously a lady called Nora. She's got 2 children, and she's broken up with her husband. He's living somewhere else now, and she's basically got this house and she has to pay for this house to live in it. So she is a script writer. She writes like these, I would say it almost sounds like she writes like these, you know, the Hallmark movies. It's almost like she writes romance novels for a TV channel, and then she'll get paid X amount of money. But obviously one of her scripts, which is based around her life, gets picked up for the big screen, and we go from there. And we meet Leo. He is a Hollywood actor, and he comes to play the part of her husband or her ex-husband in the film. And yeah, I just loved it. I would say I loved that the children had a part in this. So she's got a daughter and a son, and I can't think of their names off the top of my head. My memory is terrible. But you don't get different POVs in the way that the chapters are named, you know, Nora's POV, Leo's POV, and then the children's. But you do get multiple POVs within each chapter, and they very much get their part in it. And I think that's really important for a family who's going through hard times, where the parents have split up and the children are a huge part of that. And I think it was really good to see how they dealt with it and their points of view. That's all I want to say on that. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. I think I've got Same Time Next Summer by this author on my June TBR, so I will be really looking forward to that one, because if it's anything like this one, I'm going to eat it up. The last book I read, which you know, is Mixed Signals. This is on my June TBR. However, like I said before, I just felt like picking it up and reading it, and yeah, I finished it yesterday. This got 4.25. I absolutely loved In the Weeds. I think you can see it here somewhere. I loved In the Weeds, but this one just took it a notch up again. The only one I haven't read is book number 1, which is Love Light Farms, I think. Is it Love Light Farms? It is Love Light Farms. So I sort of know who the couple is in that one, and obviously I have spoilt it for myself a little bit in these books, but I am going to go back and read that. But yeah, this one follows Layla and Caleb. Layla she runs a bakehouse on Love Light Farms. So she was set up in this like warehouse almost. They turned it into like a bakehouse for her. She bakes in there and she has customers, tables, like a cafe basically in a way. And then we have Caleb, who I think we met we met them both in the previous book. But I think he was in the police force in the Weeds. But I think they let him go and he's now working in the local school. But yeah, I'm not going to go into this too much. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I just don't want to spoil it by saying anything. Just please, if you want a cheesy romance, these are the books to go to. I seem to just love them. I've got a few series where it's like this, and I'm going to either I think I might do a little video. Let me know if you would like to see that, where the series that I'm really enjoying that are like small town vibes and just cheesy good time, and that is definitely what this is. I can't wait to read Business Casual, but I will wait for the autumn to read that one, or like September time. So they were all the books I read in the month of May. Now we can move on to the books I've added to my Kindle Unlimited recently, and that is Liarland on KU. The book cover is here. This one, I will read it out to you so you can hear a little bit about the synopsis. I've basically downloaded this as I know there is challenges on here where you read books for Summerween, and I don't think I'm going to get to read many of them, but I would love to read this book at the beginning of July in the week of Summerween. Just says, a twisty roller coaster ride from start to finish. This suspenseful, romantic theme park thriller will have you on the edge of your seat. Gwen's summer job at a theme park is cool until people start. After her best friend Valerie disappears, an anonymous account slides into Gwen's DMs with a deal: help shut down Pineland or Valerie will. Next. Between shady operations and freak accidents, it shouldn't be too hard to tarnish the Pineland's already declining reputation. But why is the killer so desperate to close the park? Anxious to get Valerie out alive, Gwen hatches a plan of her own. Enlisting the help of her cute but off-limits neighbour, she schemes to unravel the killer's identity. The race is on to unmask the murderer before anyone else's life goes downhill. So I am really looking forward to that one. I can't even think how I found it. I think somebody might have recommended it. But that is on KU in the UK. I also have put Conform on my Kindle. It says, born to an elite family, Emmeline has been marked as different from birth and by a society that judges all its citizens on their ability to conform. Emmeline only has one role open to her: to become a mother. Offered a procreation contract with Colin, a member of the Ilum, the governing body of the elite, Emmeline finds herself increasingly torn between her growing, complicated feelings for a proposed mate and another man who lives on the margins of their society, who challenges her ideals. I'm so sorry, I had to go downstairs to answer the door and I'm literally so out of breath. I really need to get a bit fitter for the rest of this year. I'm telling you that for nothing. I think I've sat at my desk far too long. yeah, basically I think it's a dystopian fantasy, and obviously by the looks of it, I could be wrong, but there's going to be a love triangle in there as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. And then the other one I've got downloaded on my Kindle, which I don't think I had last time I spoke to you. I'm terrible at deleting and uploading different ones. Is a book called Soul Fire. This is part of the God's Fire series, and it's book number 1. I've not seen anybody talk about this book. However, it looks like it's a fae book, quite possibly. And it's on KU again in the UK. And it just says, hunted, powerful, rare, heiress. I can't say that name. Longs for freedom after a decade of confinement in the capital. The royals of House Lucian have a different plan for her, intending to marry her off to the Crown Prince. On the night of the engagement ball, she finds herself dreading her future more than ever. This is until she meets a notorious fae male that has her going from future queen to traitorous noble overnight. Hunter, criminal, conflicted, Taryn sees is an assassin with a mysterious past. When his guildmaster sends him on a mission to capture a girl of rare power, Taryn believes it's just another job until she upends his meticulous plans and the monarchy places a bounty on both of their heads. And then forced to become reluctant allies, Taryn and I think it's heiress flee Luciana and the guild and travel to the only other continent on Earth. What begins as a desperate escape quickly turns into a dangerous adventure as they unearth an ancient prophecy and discover the truth about their world's history. So yeah, I just think that sounds really interesting. I sometimes will just go on my Kindle and look up you know, fae books or, you know, what I'm interested in at the time, and that one came up. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. We then move on to, because I don't want this video getting too long, my series update. So at the moment I have 103 series in total on my series tracker. 67 of these are not started, so I know that's a lot, but in saying that, it might be like I've got here literally the first book. I think a lot of these on this side here are just first books in a series, so if I don't like them I'll just not buy the rest of them. So please don't think I've got the whole series sitting on my shelves, because that's not the case for quite a lot of these books, to be fair. I know I do buy series in whole, but I also don't for some. So yeah, I'm up to date with 13 series at the moment. I'm in the middle of 17, so I will put the series graphic up here so that you can see the ones I'm in the middle of. There are quite a few on there. However, I am hoping to complete a Fate Inked in Blood duology, because I have a Curse Carved in Bone on my June TBR. I also have Kingdom of the... I don't know which one it is. It's Kingdom of the Cursed or Kingdom of the Feared. I can't, it's book number 2 anyway in that series, so we are getting a step closer there. I also have the Thorn Queen on my June TBR, and that is completing that duology. The first book in that was The Rose Bargain. And I'm also hoping to get up to date with When the Moon Hatched, because I recently bought The Ballad of Fallen Dragons and I don't really want to keep that on my shelf too long. I want to get round to that one. There's another one on there as well in the same, yeah, Shield of Sparrows. So I've got Rights of the Starling, which I'd love to get round to as well. So they may be just books that I pick up during the month. So that's where we are on series, and I think I said I'd completed 5 last time. Now, when I've looked again, it looks like I've only completed 4. So that's not a great thing, because that means I'm going down rather than up. However, we are going to go with 4, and if I am wrong and it is 5 still, I just don't know where I got 5 from, but I've looked and looked and looked, and it looks like I have only completed 4. So yeah, we'll go with that, and then we're going to work our way up now, most definitely. In May, I started 3 series. So we started Starside. I've also started the Hierarchy series, which is The Will of the Many. That book was on my May TBR and I am about nearly 200 pages into it. However, I haven't finished it. So I did pop it on my June TBR as well. So it's like across the two. So I'm hoping that we will get that one read. And then also the Compelling Fate Saga, which is A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly. We started that one. And then we got up to date with Dream Harbour. So not too bad, but obviously we can always do better. On the seasonal TBR, we will quickly just have a look at the spring one. I will pop a picture of it here if I can. And on the spring one, we ended up reading 4 out of the 10 books in total. I did start this later than planned. So I probably give myself too many books, to be honest. I didn't give myself a fair chance, and that's why. But obviously we completed another one off this, which was Nora Goes Off Script. However, now we are going to move into the summer TBR. And as you can see on this, I have already completed 2 books. And that is The Daisy Chain Flower Shop and Mixed Signals, which was the one I've literally just finished yesterday. So I have already finished 2. And in June, I'm hoping to read Same Time Next Summer, which is on there, and The Thorn Queen. And like I've just said to you, I would like to get round to Rites of the Starling as well at some point. So yeah, summer TBR is definitely looking better already than the spring. And then we move on to our updates for the 12 picks for 2026, and we are pretty much in the same place, sadly. I keep looking at this graphic now and thinking, what was I thinking? I've put both of the Tom and Boys books on there. I don't know whether I'm going to get round to both of them this year. I might get round to Taming 7. I'm not sure about the other one. Neverthorn, I DNF'd. Well, soft DNF'd. So I'm hoping I will pick that one back up. We've got Diabound on the June TBR. Will of the Many is on the June TBR. But then the others, yeah, I've still not got any plans as such to read them at the moment. But we are only in, or going into June. So I don't think that's too bad. We could do better, but it's me wanting to read them as well, and that's the problem now. So I think next year when I pick an annual TBR, I'm going to be really, really careful what books I'm putting on there. I thought I'd done better this year, but however, I think your reading feelings just change sometimes, and it's not that I want to read all of these books. However, I just don't know whether I want to read them all this year now. It is what it is. That is it for this video. I know it's quite long-winded, but I do like to go through my TBRs just so you can see, you know, what I have planned for the next few months. And yeah, wrap up the ones that I've read a little bit. But thank you so much if you've got to this part in the video. Please leave me a sword in the comments. I don't know if there is any swords on the emojis. A sword or a dagger. Something like a weapon maybe in the comments, just to celebrate the fact that I love Starside. Or you could do a star. So star or a weapon in the comments, let me know, and I will know that you've got to this point in the video. I would say May has been an absolute fantastic reading month. I had a couple of 5 stars. We've had a lot of 4+ ratings, so yeah, I'm really made up with that. I'm just hoping June is going to be as strong as this one. I'm sure it will be, but yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Take care everyone. Bye bye.